Welcome back to another episode of the Briefcase in the Barn with me and Gary, a series of the Furiously Curious show where we talk about business, life, Christianity, and more. To see you again, it's been a while since we recorded, or me and Gary anyway. How'd you like last week's episode? Me and Nicole.
I mean, I was a bit disappointed for her because I feel like, and she alludes to it in the beginning. Well, first of all, I was excited because I thought maybe I was done, right? I thought maybe my time on the podcast had come to an end and I could get out of the weekly recordings. But she said I had to come record today. I messaged that in the group chat. But I thought that she alludes to the idea of like the, not the allure, but just the idea that, hey, maybe people don't know how she thinks, or just, you know, people like, you're a big mouth, right? So everybody knows what you think, obviously, whether they want to or not. And everybody's like, oh, who would be married to that guy? And then she obviously shares a bit about that. But she gave some really good points, I thought. I found it encouraging, and it was really interesting because I have a friend who recently is dealing with an affair situation, and it was just, her words were really insightful. I thought they were bang on, and I think that obviously everybody's situation is different, super complicated, super messy, but she just talked about turning to Jesus, and I thought, oh, that should be the answer to everything, little or big or no problems. That should just be our posture. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I know Nicole, she's very, very gracious. She's a very forgiving person, and a lot of us could take a page out of that book. So, a lot of good questions. Did you put those questions out there from people, or were those just questions that you made?
Last half I made, like when did you become a Christian and things like that. I added that in.
But the other questions people had asked. Yeah. Okay, wow. Yeah, no, they're good.
And so I'll be interested to see the feedback because you watched early, so it comes out tomorrow.
I thought you posted the link yesterday.
No, that was just Patreon. Just do it for the Patreon. People get it early.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're subscribed, you get to watch stuff early and some other content. So
it feels like we have not recorded for a very long time. Like
it's been 3 weeks.
It's been 3 weeks. Okay. What was the feedback from the podcast that we had done months ago? Did you get any feedback?
Oh, on how many times to have sex?
Yeah.
I had one guy talk to me. He goes like, Gary completely
abdicated, total politician.
Completely.
I'm practicing, right? Because I'll run for office again one day, maybe be the premier of BC or the prime minister. So I just got to practice, right? Got to be a real weather vane.
Doing a good job.
Okay. It's interesting because I'd probably give a different answer now.
Oh, a couple weeks later.
Well, no, it was months later, right? We recorded that months ago.
That was 7 weeks ago, 7, 8 weeks ago.
Okay. Anyways.
Okay, so way better now.
No, I just think that I would be probably a little more, hey, if you're having problems,
deal with it.
Call a doctor, see a counselor, get help.
Yeah.
I probably didn't allude to that enough, right? That's because a lot of people may even want to be having sex and it's just not going well or whatever. Anyways, we don't need to talk about sex. That was 2 weeks ago. Onward and upward.
Oh, I mean, I one other guy that listened to the, or I don't know if he listened or not, but the one with me and Nicole, he was asking about some more details and he felt like a whole bunch of context was missing on different things. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. It's hard to always have all the details. But I think Nicole was saying to me this week, we just need to share our whole story, like at length. I know I've said for a while I was going to do that. I just need to talk to Curry again about getting it done, but I don't know. It's not always, it's hard. I don't know.
Sometimes I always struggle with like, okay, what's not oversharing, but it's because I think there's a real, and you know, you'll hear it from people who get the feedback because most people are struggling to some degree. So it's super encouraging when people are honest.
Yeah.
Which you guys are. I just think, there's a time and a season to share every person. And I guess to me, it's like, hey, what's sacred in a marriage, right? Like what in a marriage would you be like, that's just between you and your wife, or I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I just kind of think there's probably a line somewhere there.
Yeah, there's definitely
different for every couple, obviously.
That's right. Yeah.
So
okay, got some listener questions before we get to some stuff. So this is let's read this. Thoughts on a question for the podcast. So when I look into the Bible, I see a tool from God for our good, and really has no other purpose. Satan can't use it to destroy. Internet, Instagram, television, cell phones. All these can be used for good, and all can be used for evil. And I feel AI is like a supercomputer that will just super speed corruption and sin. And my thought is it can be used for good. The question is, do you think Satan would have it any other way? If Satan hates Jesus, then he hates you and me, and it would love to trip all Christians. So let's put a little good into something very evil. Be separate from the world. What does this mean?
Oh, wow.
So basically he's saying that Of course, Satan wants there to be some good in AI or the internet or something else like that, because then you can say, well, I need to use it. But it's actually been used for evil. So how do you differentiate that? Are they completely neutral, or are?
Oh, I just had this conversation this morning.
Okay.
The weekly real estate meeting, got out in the weeds, and it was like we were talking about. I saw John Piper posted a thing on his story about drinking, right?
Okay, yeah.
And like, is being a little bit drunk ever okay for a Christian?
Yeah.
And what does that even mean? That would be my question. Like, what does a little bit drunk mean? Like,
Yeah.
I got one thing, and it's like real drunk. But anyways, the idea of and I just went on a bit of a monologue. Like, feasting in the Bible, it's biblical to feast, but gluttony, is obviously a sin, right? I mean, and the same with drinking. Like, obviously Jesus turned wine into water. Like, it's not opposed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drinking that happens in the Bible, but there's a lot of verses that warn of drunkenness, right? And so to say, well, hey, Satan will use things and make them good. No, like, that's the beauty of the minds we've been given, and the gifts, God gives us this discernment of like, hey, how are we going to use this for good, right? There's just 1,000 things. Like, I mean, even a gun is how people, shot food and fed themselves. And it's like, well, guns do, like, does Satan in on guns or knives or like anything, right? Like, I just think, hey, I think that the idea would be, there are things that are inherently wrong that we're supposed to flee from. That's pretty obvious, right? But they're not things. They're not like technical.
It's kind of like the printing press. The printing press came out and it helped like publish good books in the Bible, especially. But
and piles of filth is written. So it's like, I don't know. I think that's a great question, because that's how people want to live. And it's for sure, here again, this is me just stereotyping Dutch people, but it's for sure how I feel as a Dutch person, or like how I feel like I was raised.
Just don't do anything.
It's just black and white, because it's just the easiest, right? Like, we draw a line in the sand, and literally that word was used as a kid.
Yeah.
It's like, we have to draw a line in the sand somewhere, which is fair. As a parent, you do. Like, it's not easy, right? But it's this idea of like, hey, no, you actually, as a young person, and there's an age, and I don't know where it is as a parent. There's people that are way further along in the parenting journey that are qualified to comment, but it's this idea of like, no, you ultimately want your child, you want their heart to be in the right spot. And once their heart is in the right spot, they will feel convicted for, like, they'll have to figure out their own journey. And it may not look the same as their parents. And then parents that are controlling are struggling because their child's not convicted of all the same things. No, we're all given our own conscience, and God works in our lives in different periods of time. So I just feel like, hey, there's 1,000 little decisions every day that we make. And I mean, it's a really valid point, because the phone thing in particular, because obviously, even if you're never doing the wrong thing on your phone, just the amount of time you spend there is a problem. But yeah, I just feel like, boy, you really want to be careful. Paintbrushing things is dangerous and bad, because they are used for bad, and this devil will use them. Because I mean, he'll get us in church, like he'll distract us by what someone's wearing or whatever. Mm. It's like he'll get us anywhere we can, right? And that's just because we're sinful, and so it's pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
But
I agree. Okay, another listener question. I think a lot of people are waiting for the boomers to pass away, so a lot of their money and assets can be transferred to the next generation. Could you imagine how many homes will come up on the market as they pass away? There's an estimated 9 billion baby boomers in Canada right now, aged from 60 to 80, and they hold about 50% of the wealth. The next 10 to 20 years will be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, a lot of squandering wealth.
Any thoughts on that?
A lot of squandering wealth. Well, I'm waiting.
Just
kidding, Mom and Dad. Just kidding. Bad joke.
I'm gonna get a couple books, maybe. So,
big library. Dad has a big library. I think inheritance is really unhealthy.
Okay,
and this is something.
Okay, let's get to inheritance, but let's talk about this first. On the real estate side, are there going to be a huge influx in homes because so many boomers are dying, and this wealth you think is just going to go to the kids and get blown?
No, I think it's already happening slowly. I don't think it's not. There's probably not a stat that says what amount of homes that had no mortgage are now taking on a mortgage. But if that was a stat, my prediction would be that it's increasing. There's a lot of places that are mortgage free, and it's a boomer that owns his home, and it's worth $2.5 million in West Van, or $4 million or whatever. And now they take on a $400,000 mortgage. Maybe the father has a pile of investment income. He can afford a bit of a mortgage. He puts a mortgage on his home. That's the down payment for his kid. They buy an apartment in Coquitlam for $700,000, right? I think that's happening. And I think that the natural progression is still more and more debt all the time. If you look at the general trend, like, we're not seeing that liquidation of wealth and now people taking on like
less debt.
We're not. We're still seeing debt increasing around the entire world, because our spending life habits as an entire world, not even just Western, but for sure in the Western culture, is way more than what we take in an income. It's like that with governments. It's like that personally. And I think I'd be curious to know how it is just in our little nucleus of where we live with people. It's probably a fairly unique where people do really value paying down debt, and where that's a negative thing. But the problem is that either
I would say newer generations aren't like that as much.
They're not like that. No, and I think there again, I'm not qualified to comment, but it does feel like younger or people that I see outside of our circles or even in our circles, they value experiences more than financial stability to some experience,
or their family more,
or their family. I'm just saying, if I look at on the negative side, where it's like people just do crazy experiences, and I'm like, hey, that is really expensive. Like, we are not doing that.
Yeah.
Saw somebody post yesterday, they had gone to Italy. I'm like, cool. I would like to go to Italy. Now I'm buying equipment from Europe. Like, I feel like I'm due for a trip to Germany, but like, it's expensive to go to Europe, right? So it's whatever. It's a choice thing, right? We all spend our money in
that's what you value.
Different ways. That's what you value. Interesting. Do you think that's the case, where there's going to be this huge flux of cash coming from boomers passing away?
I just know so little about that. Okay. Like, I mean, the money's obviously going to go somewhere.
So here, I'll give you an example, and this will all be history, I think, by the time this comes out. But like, there's a property right now in Rosedale, just like a little pretty desirable area where we live, and where I grew up. And it's just shy of an acre. It's got a 1912 house on it. It's an elderly lady's living in there.
Yeah.
They posted it for sale last week. It's 0.8 of an acre with basically a tear down house. They listed it for $880,000. And there was probably 50 to 100 people that walked through it on Saturday. They had 1 hour open house. And today, we're recording on Tuesday. This podcast will come out next week, Wednesday. So we can give an update in a week or two. But like, there will be multiple offers on this property, right? Now, that lady, like, I don't know where her cash is going that she gets from this thing. I don't know if she, is she going to donate it all to the Cat Haven, who knows, or some nonprofit, right? Meow. But like, whoever's buying that is taking on debt. Yeah, they are. Like, I mean, even if they have all that money in cash.
I guess for every house sold, that house is going to get bought by somebody.
That's probably borrowing more money, right?
Yeah.
So like, I just view it like it's a transfer, and it's one person's taking on the leverage. And if I look at it even in my hip family with like my wife's extended family, where like, hey, they had this farm, they collected the cash, that cash is getting divvied up to their extended family. And me and my wife have just borrowed money to slowly buy assets, right? So there's
you put some notes here in the show notes for banks getting a lot tighter on lending.
Super interesting stuff happening.
Yeah, so banks are taking away HELOCs.
Yeah, so some people don't know what that term is, and it's a negative thing. I would not get a
Same
HELOC.
with credit card limits and all on-demand loans.
Yeah, so like, there's a certain type of debt where if you had a regular mortgage, you owed $300,000 on your house, you would slowly pay down your $300,000. That's your mortgage. But if you have like a credit card limit, obviously that could go up and down. If you had a line of credit that's unsecured, it could go up and down. HELOCs are like, basically, they're a line of credit attached to your house, which a lot of people have. And theoretically, you could pay down as much as you want, or you could always just be maxed out, which is probably more common. But just gives you flexibility. Let's just say you did have the ability to pay a bunch off. So some people would argue a HELOC's a great product, but basically what's happening is the person will have a HELOC for $400,000 or $500,000 on their house. They go online to their account, and all of a sudden, and they've paid off half of it. All of a sudden, the next day, their limit's $250,000, and that other $250,000 is gone. And they're allowed to do that arbitrarily because they're on-demand loans. And I've just heard numerous stories now. I took Twitter off my phone a week ago, so now I feel like I'm a bit disconnected. But I just thought, it's just a big distraction. But that's,
I mean, it seems like the spending doesn't stopping. I mean, even like Trump just passed this $1 trillion bill. Elon gave him crap for it. But it just,
he's the one yelling the loudest at Powell to lower the interest rates. Like, he's a big spender.
Yeah, huge spender. But it doesn't seem like it's going to like
stop.
No,
it's going to stop. The U.S. is in deep trouble.
Well, so is Canada.
They are, but I think because the U.S., the Canada is. I do.
Canada has a more debt per person.
They do. I feel like Canada, with our natural resources and just we're a pretty small population. I feel like if we cut government spending like crazy and laid off a bunch of government workers,
it's a big if.
I think it's going to happen eventually, and I think we'll just start pounding out oil and gas and put some pipelines to each coast.
All of a sudden, the liberals will be okay with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic. I just feel like the U.S., because of the fact that they are the world reserve currency right now.
Yeah.
And there again, this is a complicated topic for people that don't care about economics. Their eyes will glaze over and they'll hate this. But like, they have a huge advantage being the reserve currency because everybody has to get U.S. dollars to do business. So it protects them a bit. And the day that is not the case, which
it seems to be getting close.
It's definitely, it would never been a conversation 50 years ago. Like, it just would not have been a conversation. But ever since the U.S. went off the gold standard, and has started to run. Like if you look at the deficit now, I looked the other day, I think they're at 36 trillion or something, which there again, that's just a random number to
I remember it was
someone
like 11. Like it's just bizarre.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So in the 90s, so in the first, 200 years of their existence, I think it went to like $1 trillion or not even, right?
Yeah.
It was like 500 billion. And then in the last 30 years,
Compound effect.
Yeah.
What about Canada? Our debt?
I've lost track. I don't know. It's probably 1 trillion or something, or anyways, it's awful.
Yeah.
So basically, and this is where governments, like I believe if I was a politician, that there would be a law, like they would implement law where you could never, ever run a deficit ever.
Or at least to like a max compared to your GDP.
No, never. No. Because they cook the books and
That's
they
true,
justify all kinds of stuff, right? And and
I'm
that's
surprised actually, like the American guys that wrote the Constitution and stuff like that, and how they set up their government didn't have that written in there
because it wasn't even a concern back then initially.
Well, I know, but still,
it was the wars that did it, right? And war and panic and fear, and we could all extrapolate that on what we will.
Yeah.
Politicians get away with murder in those times because everybody's panicking, right? They use these things to, anyways, I sound like a kook, but no, you know what I mean? Like it was like, hey, buy bonds, right? That's how and if you don't understand the bond market, you're not qualified to give financial advice. People give, like realtors in particular, right? Give lots of financial advice all the time on Instagram.
Yeah.
They don't even know
great time to buy a home.
It's always a great time.
Great time to buy
the best
a home.
time was 10 years ago, and the second best time is today.
Interest rates dropped. Bye. Okay. Another listener question. Is jewelry earring okay? I was told growing up getting your ears pierced was evil.
Evil? That's a strong word. Is that the word?
I know a lot of people are told it was evil.
Okay, interesting.
Follow-up question. Men wearing chains or earrings. Thoughts? What about wearing a crucifix? Any thoughts on any of these?
No.
I have no problem with jewelry or men wearing chains, whatever.
I appreciate people that I appreciate people that are humble and modest. And I feel like if you're extravagant in those areas, I feel like it could be construed as, flamboyant or whatever, but it's no different than a person that drives a super nice vehicle.
Yeah, like a Ford Lightning. If you had
like a Ford Lightning, right?
Yeah,
like tool. Who drives a Ford Lightning?
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to say about that?
No, I think even like the cross thing, like some people would consider that blasphemous, and other people would be like,
there's a difference in the cross and the crucifix. Crucifix is what there's Jesus on there. I think that's what Roman Catholics wear, and the cross is just the cross.
Yeah, there again. I mean, man, that was heavy stuff when we were kids, right? That was really. I think the idea of being super reverent is lost today on a lot of Christians, and I think people don't understand. Like that would be the sense I get from even just content you watch. I don't think people really realize
the fear of God,
and the holiness of God. On the same token, I think that a lot of people box check, don't do certain things, and their heart's not there.
The fear of God isn't
whatever.
Shown in the fact you have earrings or don't have earrings.
No, that's a separate issue. That's like makeup and stuff. That's all because of just the idea of, there's verses about being, just modest, and people could quote all the verses. There's probably how many are there?
I don't know.
The other thing I wonder is like, what's Old Testament? What's New Testament?
Yeah, I'm just not qualified enough here.
Okay. Bring in the theologian. Speaking of which, I hung out with a guy this morning, and he'll remain unnamed, but he's, I can't even say what industry he's in because it's so unique. But he was I happened to meet him at a farm. He was working away, and he said he listened to the podcast, and he really enjoyed the theology and I'm like, oh boy, like I do not want to be known for any theology that I spew. But he was talking about your Matt Keane podcast, and he grew up super, like, there again, to use the word Armenian. And obviously you and I did not. And so, he just finds the dialogue interesting. And now he goes to a Dutch Reformed church, and it's just, his viewpoint was, he just loved the discussion about it and thought it was super important. I right away wanted, like, if this wasn't my favorite shirt, I would have just read it from top to bottom. Well, you know how I feel. Way too many people spend way too much time debating this stuff, and I don't feel like it's
okay.
Has Matt set you straight lately, you said, or?
Yeah, Matt always gives me crap.
What did he say this morning?
Half my problems are because of my theology.
Savage.
We have good chats. Okay, I got a good joke that got sent in.
Okay.
What's the difference between a jar of mayonnaise and a wife?
The difference?
Yeah. Under extreme circumstances, you may get a jar of mayonnaise to admit it's wrong.
That's a dad joke. That's horrible.
It's so bad. Well, bad as in like how lame it is.
Yeah, that's really lame.
I got sent in. I laughed
Okay.
because someone gave me crap at the podcast. It was too serious.
It is too serious. I would agree. But every time I want to be really funny, I know it's inappropriate. So I have a lot of growing up to do where
I know how to bleep things.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be that way.
Okay. People are so legalistic. That's a comment you put in there. What was that about?
I don't know, man.
Galatians. People are so legalistic.
Oh, I was probably just sitting reading and just. Oh yeah,
Your notes suck.
My notes do suck. I don't add enough context, right?
No.
I think I was reading Galatians the other morning and I was just like, man, hang on, I'm going to read it. One sec.
My dad actually did a great preach through Galatians, and it actually is written to the people that focus more on works than they do on faith.
Anyways, I could read all this. Should I read it?
No.
Paul confronts Peter. Read Galatians 2.
Read Galatians 2?
Yeah, not now. And Galatians 3.
Okay.
Listen, should I read it?
Yeah.
I read it. We don't have the gentle and lowly, so you don't have to listen to
Very good.
Kyle's running commentary for 15 minutes about the chapter. O foolish Galatians, this is the law and the faith in Christ. Who has cast an evil spell on you? For the meaning of Jesus Christ's death was made as clear to you as if you had seen a picture of the death on the cross. Let me ask you this one question. Did you receive the Holy Spirit by obeying the law of Moses? Of course not. You received the Spirit because you believed the message you heard about Christ. How foolish can you be? After starting your new lives in the Spirit, why are you now trying to become perfect by your own human effort? Have you experienced so much for nothing? Surely it was not in vain, was it? I ask you again, does God give you the Holy Spirit and work miracles among you because you obey the law? Of course not. It is because you believe the message you heard about Jesus Christ. In the same way, Abraham believed God, and God counted him as righteous because of his faith. And this reminds me of what Nicole talked about in the podcast the other night about the sermon that your dad did. The real children of Abraham, then, are those who put their faith in God. What's more, the scriptures look forward to this time when God would make the Gentiles right in his sight because of their faith. God proclaimed this good news to Abraham long ago when he said, all nations will be blessed through you. So all who put their faith in Christ share the same blessing Abraham received because of his faith. But those who depend on the law to make them right with God are under his curse. For the scripture says, cursed is everyone
who depend on the law to make them right with God.
Yeah. Because the scriptures say, cursed is everyone who does not observe and obey all the commands that are written in God's book of the law. So it is clear that no one can be made right with God by trying to keep the law. For the scriptures say it is through faith that the righteous person has life. And that is just counterintuitive. Anyways, I could read on and on. Great chapter.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Anyways, rabbit trail.
It reminds me again, like how important it is to stay in the Word every day and to read it, meditate on it, pray around it. Okay. Elon Musk came out a couple of weeks ago, and he says that robots will play a major part in the global economy and have an effect on the GDP of some countries within 5 years. Last year, he predicted there would be 10 billion humanoid robots on Earth by 2040, sold for $20,000 to $25,000 each. He also said in April that robots will surpass good human surgeons within a few years and the best human surgeons within 5 years. What do you think about that? I mean, I'm excited to get to buy one of these things and can mow my lawn for me, and like
you can already get a robotic lawnmower. Lots of people have.
Yeah, but you get one it looks like a human. You can get it to anything. Trim hedges. You can get it to like clean crap up. I'm just more worried when these things get hacked, and then all of a sudden someone says, "Hey, beat the crap out of Gary."
It's not going to end well, man. I don't feel like if we look back, and maybe we're just all romantic about the past. But I don't think we look back and think, oh, it's so much better now.
Well, everyone's more disconnected and more unhappy. Like
yeah, that's what I mean. So like, I think, and maybe I'm arguing or for the against myself earlier what I said, but I just feel like everything that's being added is like, it's just making our life more hectic. It's not giving us more time, right? We just cram more in. And so
more escaping.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward. My wife went to a conference, adoptive foster conference in Pennsylvania near the Amish in Lancaster.
Yeah.
And she's going again next year, I think. It's called Filled. For those of you that are listening that live across North America and want to go to it. It's the Filled conference. Anyways, it's super encouraging for her.
Okay.
And I would like to go along and just do like a tour and see the Amish farms. Yeah. And
this time you'd rather work, or?
Pardon?
You'd rather work this time? Is that why you didn't go this time?
I stayed home and looked after the kids, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that note, a super good podcast to listen to this week. It was on the Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, but it's titled "The Dopamine Expert." Doing this once a day fixes your dopamine. What alcohol is really doing to your brain. Your childhood shapes your future addictions. But it is it's with Dr. Anna Lemke.
Okay.
But it is absolutely awesome. Like, it is so insightful in how our brains operate on dopamine, especially on the fact that when we hit a dopamine, our brains create chemicals as well that counterbalance it. So you go back to like flat. Those like a balance. One guy's side goes up, the other goes. And so the more you try to hit the dopamine, the more the negative goes, and the bigger the crash goes, and it amplifies. And it just talks about how to like get a healthy brain in a society where there's just dopamine everywhere. And it just practically understanding yourself. It's really, really helpful. So I definitely would recommend that podcast. I'll put it in the show notes.
I had Julia send me just a clip of it, making fun of me. And I mean, I don't know if you want to put the clip in, but it was just pretty interesting.
Okay. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah. Well, I can send you the clip.
Okay.
I'll send you the clip.
Okay.
It's because I drink 4 liters of water a day.
Oh, that you're addicted to water.
Yeah. Did you hear that part of it?
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a sad story, actually.
Yeah, because the lady died. Yeah. Okay. What else you got? Anything else?
Oh, I thought there was another interesting, somebody posted, it wouldn't be relevant to everybody. How long are we at, by the way?
Half hour.
Okay.
Okay, but before we get there, today's episode is sponsored by Furiously Curious Coaching. So now a lot of you guys listening own a business or an executive at one, and it would massively benefit from my 10-week coaching, journal-based coaching program, because it really helps you get clear on what you want and what's standing in the way to achieving it. And so I thought I'd just kind of explain some of the things that you're probably struggling with, and that's you're somewhat isolated. You keep a lot inside and don't show any weaknesses, and that's holding you back. You have strained relationships, either at home or at work, and you don't understand why people don't get you. You're chronically dissatisfied. You always feel like you're behind in whatever you're doing. And you have something called slippage, which is a term that my coach phrased, but it means basically you're letting the most important things fall through the cracks. So you're not sleeping well. You're never really fully present. If you're at home, you're thinking about work, and when you're at work, you're thinking about home, and you feel guilty in both places, or you're not eating well, or alcohol, too much alcohol, things like that. And it's your thinking that creates the struggle. And for most everyone, a lot of our thinking is invisible to us. And that's why journal-based coaching is so powerful. And what coaching does, it bridges the gap between your thinking and your goals. And that's why it's so effective. So I'm looking for more guys to coach. So if that's you and you feel like you fall underneath in those categories, and you sign up before the end of June, you'll get 3 months of maintenance coaching for free. And so if that's you, just shoot me a text, 604-703-9045. Shoot me a thumbs up or the word interested, whatever, and we'll have a chat. Answer any of your questions about the coaching, how it works, why it's effective, share some of the testimonies of other guys I've worked with. But it is awesome, and it will change your life. So if you're interested in that, hit me up.
Okay. Another thing I found interesting, I put it in the show notes, was addition to reserves. Have you heard of that term?
No.
Addition to reserve. It's basically, and it kind of like has all kind of come up because there's a chunk of land near where I live that's farmland, great farmland.
Yeah.
And there's talk of it kind of going, being sold. And I'm doing the quotes, sold to the natives there, to the reserve next door to the First Nations community. And then what do you think will happen once it's sold to the First Nations?
Developed.
It'll get developed. So it's essentially
sneaky
Pete.
But it must be pretty public. That's what's going to happen.
It's not public yet. And it's it's very interesting. It's like this, like you can imagine being like First Nations land. It's like this political landmine, so to speak. And it really is, because I've heard that people have reached out to people on the ALC, the Land Commission, and they're pit bulls and they're savages on every other chunk of land getting put into development if it's in farmland. But this one, they will not touch. Well, why not?
Because they wanted to go get developed.
No, because they're just scared of just this idea of being racist or against First Nations or whatever, right? So,
fascinating on that note. So I went to go see Trey in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
And he's a Choctaw Indian.
Okay.
And they're Christians. And so I go into this Memorial Day service there, and they're singing hymns in the native Choctaw language, but Christian hymns. And like the whole tribe is.
That's pretty cool.
Huge tribe.
Pretty cool.
That's something I'd never experienced
that's awesome.
before.
Yeah, so there's like a huge mission field here too in that sense. And I mean, I think our church does it relatively well in Lake Arrock. We have a church there, and there's a large First Nations community there. I just feel like it was interesting. So I had an ethics real estate class, which people are like, yeah, that guy needs an ethics real estate class. But anyways, it's good. The most practical part of real estate, actually, especially like if it's a small community and you're trying to live beyond reproach, and it's obviously not easy. You saw the text message that I got earlier from somebody.
Yes.
What was it? Self-righteous and entitled. Which,
yeah.
To be fair, like I am sometimes. So
did that hurt when you got that? Or you were just like,
well, I did what I always want to do when I get bombed. I want to like justify, rationalize, throw bombs back. I didn't do any of those things. I left it, stayed calm, escape. You think I'm a real escaper when I get land-based today? To some degree I may, but I know, I think you got to face it head on, especially when it's somebody that's relatively close to you. I said sorry and owned the part that, like, I owned what I did wrong. I definitely did something wrong. Said I was really sorry. But sorry is when you change, Gary. Sorry is when you change.
It's easy to
True
know
repentance.
It's easy to know the right things.
Sorry I got caught.
We had someone over on Sunday, and they were saying how in a world where we're instant gratified with basically anything we want, that it's so counterintuitive that our sanctification is slow. Like how we're becoming more like Christ is slow, and we're just like, well, why am I not better yet? Why am I not better yet? Because everything else we're used to, like just being better right away, and sanctification is just it's.
Well, it also happens through a challenging experiences, right? Even this experience where it's like, hey, I was offside, I was wrong, and I can totally.
It's never in good times.
Yeah.
Trey said that, so I have a podcast that will have come out last week, or it'll come out this week. I'm not sure exactly, depending on how soon I can edit it. But so with Trey's episode, and he said in there he had everything. He was a F-18 pilot. He was like traveling the world. He had 2 boys. He had money and everything else like that. And he goes, "It's not hard times that test men. It's good times that test men."
Oh, he disagrees.
Yeah, he goes, "You really show up who you are. If you're during the like everything's going well, we'll see if you're still like a kind, good person."
Okay, interesting. Man, I don't know if I agree.
Because I mean, there is truth to that, right? Like, because usually that's when like
that's when people stumble for sure.
Exactly.
No, that's
the test.
That's fair. How do you deal with success? Most people can handle failure better than they can success. Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
That's a fair statement. But the character is really built through challenging things.
Yes.
Anyways, back to my ethics class. I feel like that's amazing that I could remember that. So I go in this class, and they do like the land acknowledgement, right? That we're all on stolen land, and this idea, and then but nobody's giving it back. So like, there's no repentance there. It's like, just shut up and give the land. I can't stand virtue signaling, right? Just infuriates me. Like, if you're sorry, then just like make it right. But like,
exactly. Yeah.
None of this like, hey, we're just going to pay penance by continually and the other thing that's becoming a real problem now is in this culture is like, and that's what I'm getting to, is where when you don't have truth, there's no reconciliation. Like, it's called truth and reconciliation. So everything needs to be up front. People can't be like, it needs to be all out there. And now we've gotten to the spot where, so he does the land acknowledgement. The teacher, great teacher, starts talking about, making things right with First Nations communities, talks about all the other inclusive diversity, all these things, and then how that plays into ethics and real estate, which I think real estate, and he said it, is inclusive, and, like, there's realtors of all kinds, all races, there's probably people that shouldn't be realtors that are, whatever. But then so we've gotten to our breakout groups, and I started talking about addition to reserves and about, hey, this is a problem. Like, now we have people that would say in our phrase, and just so people understand that if there's anyone that's listening to this, that's not from the BC, the phrase BC in particular, but the Fraser Valley, really, if land's in the agricultural land reserve, which is a chunk of land that the BC government in 1972 dictated as this will be farmland forever. If it's not in that, it can be developed. You could turn it into houses. You still have to get it zoned. There's still a process. It costs a fortune. The governments just make everything complicated. But the land that's in the agricultural land reserve, it doesn't matter. Like in Chilliwack's a great example. There's land like right in the heart of the city, and it's great farmland, but it's like sandwiched between all these subdivisions, Stevenson Road, all these areas, right? That land, theoretically, that should be houses. Like, this is just making a weird city. Now we have these, agriculture, huge tractors trying to drive through school zones, like just, totally, inefficient, right? We got all these sewer lines running out to hinterland, but we got this land right here. That's great. But because of the agricultural land reserve and the way the commission is, and it used to be, now I'm rabbit trailing, but they used to have it where you could swap land. So you could have a weird chunk. Well, they've kiboshed most of that now because, guys were getting pretty crafty. They were grabbing some weird, obscure chunk that was not at all good for farming and trading it. Yeah. I think we should still be able to do that. I just think that the minute you have a blanket policy in life on anything, you get to a spot where things are just inefficient and screwed up. And that's what we have now. So you have this beautiful farmland in Chilliwack, let's say, and where we live, that's not going to ever be developed. But you have all this land that is owned by First Nation bands, and they are developing it gangbusters. So they are basically, and they're not allowed to sell it. And there again, I've talked to natives about this, and they would say that's not fair. And I would kind of agree. And if you look at a reserve even, so you look at a house and be like, well, how come they're not looking after that? Well, they don't own it. So it's still the rental mentality. Like they don't have freedom to actually sell that, so it's caused, anyways, we're really getting into the weeds now with, the Indian Act and all that. And I'm not enough. There's people that are listening to this that really know this stuff. I'd love to hear their perspective.
Yeah. If you know someone, maybe come on the podcast and talk about it. Because I'd like to know more. Trey was saying that in Oklahoma, they had this, but it was like in the early 1900s, they basically just divvied up the amount of land that was among the amount of males, adults, and everyone got like 110 acres.
And you could do whatever you want with it after that.
Yeah.
So that's what I think the solution would be to now. I think that every person that is First Nation should get a large check, and then it's done. It's like, hey, here's the amount.
And get rid of the Indian Act.
And get rid of the reserves and this perpetual idea of you have to live here because this is the house that you were given for free. It's not equitable. It's like, well, now you're given, especially over time, these houses are becoming derelict. They're, it's a problem. It's like, hey, these people are not living in great situations. Give them a check. It's like, hey, we're starting.
What do the natives think themselves?
Well, they don't agree. They don't agree. The one lady I talked to who's a good friend, I mean, she lives here in Chilliwack on a reserve, and she's like, yeah. And I was talking about from a Dutch perspective, how I grew up, where it's like, oh, you're given a free house on an awesome thing. And she's saying to me, like, we don't own it. Yeah. So like, it's not like we can sell it. Like, yeah, we can live there, but we got to pay to look after it. And when you didn't work for it and you weren't, you have a different view of kind of what it even means to own something or to have it.
Yeah.
And just to be fair, the minute you can't sell something, it's not yours.
That's right.
So basically what happened is in Chilliwack, this is very prevalent. We have all these reserves now being turned into huge developments. And I mean, they're basically being sold to big, local developers, beautiful, places. Now where those chunks are running out now with the addition to reserves.
So who's
got
pushing
this
that?
Workaround? The developer is.
But like, what developers?
It's brilliant.
Donate, but like,
it's brilliant.
But what? Yeah, okay. But why are they?
They're taking land that's worth $100,000 an acre farmland, and they're turning it into land that's worth $1 million.
I get that.
An acre.
I get what's happening there.
Okay.
But why is there an agreement that why should the reserves be made bigger? Like what's that thing?
So if you go on the website, you can go right on the Government of Canada website, and it would basically say, if you Google addition to reserves and go look at the terms, it would say, is it beneficial to the band or to the reserve to get that land? Well, of course it is beneficial, right? It's like financially beneficial. I don't know if that's the heart. That probably never was the heart, but that's often how things are. The interesting thing is too, in my opinion, is that by the time that somebody has the political will to talk about this publicly, the horse will be so far out of the barn that there will be no turning back.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe there will be some other ones that will get saved, but
yeah. Anyways, just pretty interesting because this is where like two paths cross. You have the person. So I brought it up in my small group in my class, and then I brought it up in the big group, and it was like, Crickets. It was just humorous. And I brought it up very genuinely, very nicely. I'm just like, hey, have you guys ever heard of this? No. And one lady was like, oh, that's pretty crazy. And that was it. Like the instructor's like, next.
Sounds like a church meeting.
I mean, I get it. Like dealing with awkward things. It's just, if you don't deal with it, you're going to end up having a lot of unintended consequences.
That's
like,
anything.
Everybody here would agree in the Fraser Valley that we don't want phenomenal farmland. Like even non-farmers, farmers. I would actually say non-farmers, a lot of them feel even more that way. Like people want food security.
Yeah, I love
especially
it
with
for that reason. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Well, especially with the trade war, right? We got the Americans, right? They might cut us off from all their produce down in California. Like we need to make sure we can grow our own food. You don't agree with that?
They're just fighting. They're just
petty stuff. It's all BS.
Yeah. Anyways, that
was a rabbit trail.
Long rabbit trail.
Oh, people love it.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Happy. Have a great week and curious to get feedback on some of those weighty. I'd be curious for you to get a guest on that understands Indigenous rights and truth and reconciliation.
I know Matt Shellens had someone on that was also a Christian, so just maybe talk to that guy because I listened to his episode on it.
Okay, I haven't listened to that one in a long time, but yeah, and there again, every person, just like if you could ask any farmer about farming, will have a different perspective, right? So you got to be careful just saying, hey, this is the viewpoint on this.
Also, if you have a question that you want us to talk about, send that in to us on my website, furiouscurious.co, or on our social media.
Somebody mentioned about fertility for me to talk about more about that, but we'll do that next time, or the lack thereof in my case.
Yes.
Awkward. Have a great week.
Yeah.
My mother's cringing. Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Mom.
Sorry,
40. I should be growing up, but
bye.